John Daly is one of the most surprising and talked about players in golf. He never quite fit into the polished, clean-cut image of the PGA Tour, but that's what made him so interesting to watch. Daly could hit the golf ball farther than anyone had ever seen, and his bold lifestyle turned heads. But the most fascinating part of his story is his rivalry with Tiger Woods. Their battle wasn't just about hitting golf balls. It was about two complete people, both on and off the golf course. Tiger Woods was known for being disciplined, focused, and in control, while John Daly was raw talent mixed with chaos. But how did this man, known as much for his love of partying and gambling as for his golf, manage to go head-to-head with Tiger Woods, who seemed unbeatable? Before we dive into Daly's rivalry with Woods, we need to know where Daly came from. John Patrick Daly was born on April 28, 1966, in California, but his family soon moved to Arkansas. That's where his big personality started to show. As a teenager, Daly had already built a name for himself by hitting the ball farther than most people thought possible. He had a natural talent and effortless way of swinging the golf club that sent the ball soaring. In 1987, Daly turned professional. It wasn't until 1991 that he made a huge impact. As the ninth alternate, a player who only gets to play if others drop out, in the PGA Championship, Daly's unexpected win became one of the greatest underdog stories in sports. Almost overnight, he went from being unknown to famous, not just because of his win, but also because of his wild, unfiltered personality. People loved that Daly wasn't like the other players. He was real and he was wild. But Daly's rise to fame wasn't without problems. Even early on, there were whispers about his drinking habits. Daly himself admitted to drinking heavily and living a life full of questionable decisions. Still, no one could deny how good he was at golf. As his fame grew, so did his personal troubles. In the late 1990s, Tiger Woods arrived on the golf scene, changing the game forever. Woods was unstoppable. He won tournaments, broke records, and brought new excitement to golf. His sharp focus, almost perfect technique, and drive to be the best made him the golfer everyone wanted to beat. At the same time, Daly was struggling. While Tiger was becoming the new face of golf, Daly was still playing great, but was dealing with personal demons. However, Daly was one of the few players who could challenge Tiger. One of the most memorable moments came in 2005 at the WGC American Express Championship. Daly went head-to-head with Tiger in a playoff, giving everyone a reminder of how good he could be. Though Daly missed a key putt and lost the match, the fact that he pushed Tiger so far was proof of his incredible talent. Their rivalry wasn't just about who was better at golf, it was about their different personalities. Tiger was all about order, focus, and control, while Daly was unpredictable and wild. Fans couldn't help but be drawn to this contrast. John Daly's career has always been full of ups and downs, and his wins were no different. One of the most talked about moments was his victory at the 1995 Open Championship. Winning a major tournament is a huge deal for any golfer, but when Daly won at St. Andrews, some people weren't sure he belonged there. Some wondered if he was just lucky or if his natural talent was enough to carry him through. At that time, Daly's personal life was far from stable. He was known for drinking too much, gambling, and having rocky relationships. Some critics said Daly's game was inconsistent and that his big wins were more about luck. They asked how someone living such a chaotic life could win at one of golf's most important events. But Daly didn't just win because of luck. His powerful swings, especially his long drives, were unmatched. Golf fans loved watching him hit the ball farther than anyone else. Though some thought his style of play was too wild, Daly's win silenced his critics for a while. For every great moment Daly had on the golf course, there was a dark side in his personal life. His battles with alcohol and gambling were as famous as his golfing talent. By the mid-90s, Daly had been arrested several times, checked into rehab for his drinking, and lost millions to gambling. These problems affected his mental health, his relationships, and even his performance in golf. Daly's struggles with alcohol were particularly well known. Sometimes he would show up to tournaments hungover, barely able to focus. Despite his problems, Daly didn't try to hide them. He was always honest about what he was going through, and that made many fans love him even more. He was a golfer unlike any other, and people connected with his vulnerability. Daly's marriages were often troubled, and his finances were a disaster. He admitted to losing somewhere between $50 million to $60 million from gambling. This loss was huge, especially for someone who had made millions in his career. Still, Daly lived his life the only way he knew how, even if it was destructive. And then there were his health problems. Years of hard living took a toll on his body. His weight went up and down, and his smoking habit didn't help. At one point, Daly was diagnosed with bladder cancer. Despite all this, Daly kept going, always playing as if he had nothing to lose. While Daly was dealing with his personal issues, Tiger Woods was building one of the greatest careers in sports. From a young age, Woods was expected to become a champion. His father, Earl Woods, pushed him to be the best, and Tiger's training was like nothing anyone had seen before. Woods turned professional in 1996, and in 1997 he won the Masters by a record 12 strokes. His win wasn't just a victory, it was a statement. Tiger was not just another good golfer, he was the future of the sport. His athleticism, intelligence, and determination set him apart from everyone else. As the years went on, Woods collected major titles one after another. He was so dominant that he made it seem like no one could beat him. Even though Daly and Woods clashed a few times, Tiger's rivalry with Daly was just one of many. Tiger had rivalries with other top players like Phil Mickelson, Ernie Els, and Vijay Singh, but what made Woods so different from Daly was his discipline. He left nothing to chance and was always prepared. Fast forward to 2024, and the rivalry between Daly and Woods still fascinates golf fans. Their careers went in very different directions. Daly, now in his 50s, still lives life on his own terms. Though he doesn't compete at the highest level anymore, he is still loved by fans and regularly plays at charity events. Tiger Woods, after a series of injuries and personal scandals, made an incredible comeback in 2019 by winning his 5th Masters title. Woods has faced many challenges, but he remains one of the most accomplished golfers in history. Looking back, John Daly and Tiger Woods gave us two very different stories, but both left a legacy that fans still admire. The rivalry was never just about who won more, it was about how they lived their lives and what they brought to the game of golf.